Why do so many five-star recruits end up being busts? Podcast listener from Collegedale, Tennessee, home of Little Debbie. Is that true? It's got to be. Why would he have said it if it's not? So shout out to Collegedale, Tennessee, and Little Debbie. Love both of you equally. What do we mean by recruiting bust? So I just took a very serious tone because this is a very serious topic for me. I get very aggravated about it. When people say bust, recruiting bust, what does it mean? We cannot simply mean any player who was rated 5 stars that didn't go on to be a first-round draft pick. We've got to make it more complex than that. Because there are so many factors that go into play that can't be taken into a star ranking. So the proper way to interpret a star ranking, I think, is what is the most bastardized portion of this whole process. Some people look at a star ranking and they think, okay, 24/7 Sports is saying that kid's a guaranteed first-round draft pick, and if they're wrong, that means that it's a bust. That's not what a star ranking is. That's never what it's been. What it is a portion. If we go back to the pie, I have to dumb it down to the pie all the time. If we go back to the pie, then a star ranking is a slice. It's a big slice. I mean, it's basically a raw talent metric, but it's a slice of the pie that, if baked fully, makes a complete college football player. No one in our rankings council meetings, which I formerly have sat in on, no one's there claiming that a star ranking's the end-all be-all. It's an absolute true North Star in terms of guidance on what a player is going to be. It is guidance, but it's not total in nature, because that's not everything that goes into making a college football player. How are you going to take a guy's mental disposition into account when giving him a star rating? How are you supposed to know how frequently he's going to go to class? How are you supposed to know if he's going to get in trouble and his girlfriend's going to have all kinds of drama with him in his sophomore year and he's just mentally going to be checked out? How would you ever know that watching him play at modern-day high school down there in Southern California? You wouldn't, is the answer. So here's the best way I can explain it to you. A lot of you are going on vacation this time of year. Verbo Citrus Bowl tied into college football, so maybe you're on Verbo and maybe you're getting a little rental property. And you got a nice condo there on the beach, and everyone's all excited and ready. But let me ask you, does a beachfront, well, what would it be, a beachfront? Yeah. Does a beachfront condo guarantee a good vacation? The answer is no. Many of you have experienced this before. You got the best accommodations you could possibly have, but you got family drama, and you got a cousin who wasn't invited and shouldn't be there to begin with that wrecks the entire thing. Or, maybe your credit card gets declined because your identity's been stolen. Well, how stupid would it be to stand on the beach and throw rocks at the condo? It's not the condo's fault. The condo is just the condo. It's just there. And it's the same way in recruiting. If a 5-star kid goes to college and washes out for reasons that involve neck-up portions of the game, he doesn't grasp the playbook, or mentally he's checked out because he has family issues back home, that has nothing to do with a star rating. So if he doesn't pan out, you don't look at that kid, or at least I don't, in good conscience and say, boy, the recruiting service has really whiffed on him. Because here's normally what you're saying. If a 5-star kid doesn't pan out, if you go to his offer list, you see Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson. So was it an Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State bust? Because they apparently evaluated him to the point where every one of them thought he's good enough to be a Buckeye. He's good enough to be a Clemson Tiger. He's good enough to play for Oklahoma or Alabama. The answer is they weren't all wrong about their evaluation. It's just there are certain things that evaluations cannot possibly take into account, and that's why the star ranking, even as I sit here in a 24/7 Sports studio, should not be the end-all be-all when you're rating a player. That's just the closest thing you can get in this world, unless you have psychic abilities, which I don't think any of our guys have. At least they haven't told me. I've read all their bios. So I don't think about recruiting busts the same. Now, if a guy gets on campus and he doesn't have it physically, if you watch him and he just looks like he's running a gear slower than everyone else, then you can start talking about recruiting busts. If a guy's too light in the britches his junior year as an offensive tackle and he was a 5-star coming out of high school, that could be a recruiting bust. But man, like if a guy's grandmother gets a terminal illness and he's 3,000 miles away and he's a family kid and he's distracted by what's going on at home in the real world, and he never really is fully invested in college football, that's not a recruiting bust. That's just life. That stuff happens.